clearly our VINIA playbook has been a very successful playbook. As we shared last week when we announced that in the last 4 years since entering the US, we've sold more than 50 million US dollars of our VINIA supplement. So yes, that playbook is tried, it's tested, and we'll obviously look to follow a similar approach around bringing our olive cell product into the marketplace.
All right, welcome back inside our proactive newsroom. And joining me now is Ilan Sobel. He is the CEO of BioHarvest Sciences. And Ilan, it's great to see you again. How are you?
Steve, I'm doing great today. Very exciting day as we give birth to the marketplace of our next super compound.
Yeah, so we've talked in the past about what the grape does, or the red grape does to obviously blood flow with your VINIA product, but now we're talking about what the olive can do for another condition in a fatty liver. So tell us a little bit about what you're announcing here, Ilan.
So we're moving from the power of the French paradox to the power of the Mediterranean diet. And we were able to demonstrate in vitro testing on liver cells the ability to reduce fat accumulation in liver cells by utilizing our unique olive cell product, which, Steve, we've been able to, from everything that we've seen out there, has the highest levels of a very powerful antioxidant called verbascoside. And so with these in vitro results are super encouraging and demonstrate the opportunity for this unique compound to be able to really make a significant dent in the market as we look at the whole liver health marketplace. And as many people understand today, in a market like the US of A, literally non-alcoholic fatty liver disease affects 30 to 40% of US adults. And so, Steve, that's a accessible market of 100 million adults out there. And when we look at there are today limited FDA-approved drugs targeting this condition. And so we really believe that this super molecule has significant potential. And we're looking forward to the next stages of this journey as we look to bring this to the marketplace in 2026, initially as a supplement, and then obviously depending on our clinical trial results, we may look at other regulatory paths.
So will you sort of follow along the same sort of pathway that you did with VINIA for this? Is that the idea of that, is to continue to try and replicate some of the success you've had with VINIA?
Yeah, look, clearly our VINIA playbook has been a very successful playbook. As we shared last week when we announced that in the last 4 years since entering the US, we've sold more than 50 million US dollars of our VINIA supplement. So yes, that playbook is tried, it's tested, and we'll obviously look to follow a similar approach around bringing our olive cell product into the marketplace. And obviously now, between now and 2026, we are working through the regulatory path as we look to get regulatory approval, as well as putting in place the next stage of clinical trial testing so that we have the appropriate evidence to support what we call our structure function claims according to the FDA guidelines in order to communicate the ability of our olive cell product to really have a significant impact on people's overall liver health.
Ilan, one last question, and that is on this type of compound. I mentioned you've got the grape, but you obviously have the olive now as well. Are there other opportunities that the company is always looking at in order to create other super compounds in the future? Is that something that you want to see more of from this particular division of the company?
So as you know, the company has the direct-to-consumer wellness business as well as our CDMO. We will be putting our olive cell product through the direct-to-consumer business initially. We are obviously developing a number of other compounds or molecules with key partners in the CDMO part of the business. But I think it's important also to mention and just to give the audience some kind of perspective on, what do we mean by the highest levels of verbascoside in the world? And basically, where the way to best equate it is 100 milligrams of our verbascoside product was equivalent to the same amount of verbascoside you would need to actually consume roughly 2 liters of olive oil.
Wow.
Okay. So, obviously people talk about, the goodness of olive oil every single day. It's really important. We've seen this time and time again in many different, nutritionist recommendations. We see this in the power of this in the blue zones. And importantly, we've been able to develop this unique compound that has the equivalent in 100 milligrams. And we're obviously, our clinical trial work that we will do will determine the final dosage, whether it's 100 milligrams or 200 milligrams, or in the case of our Vinia, it's a 400 milligram capsule. But just to give you some perspective, 100 milligrams is equivalent to 2 liters of olive oil, and obviously a lot less calories. And important, we've worked really hard in the last 12 months with Professor, and I hope I'm going to say it right. He's a real expert in the world of polyphenols. His name is Professor Maurizio Savelli from the University of Perugia in Italy. And he's a leading worldwide expert on olive polyphenols that's worked with us on all the analysis to be able to really get to the point of being able to optimize the levels of such an important antioxidant called verbascoside. So we're very excited with this news. The in vitro results are super encouraging. So there's a lot of work still that we need to do now following these really exciting and encouraging in vitro test results now to actually demonstrate in healthy human beings the ability of this super compound to be able to make a difference as it relates to people's overall liver health. And that's going to be the key focus now for us as we really start to understand the impact, the dosages, as we look to bring the right proposition to the marketplace, following a similar playbook to Vinia in 2026.
All right, Ilan, we'll leave it there. Thanks so much. Good to talk to you again.
Thank you, Steve.
All right, Ilan Sobel, the CEO of BioHarvest Sciences.